Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight. My name is Jamie Vaughan, and I'm Trout Unlimited's Great Lakes Engagement Coordinator. And tonight I'll be sharing what this new position is all about and how we can work together to further our mission in Southeast Wisconsin and the Great Lakes as a whole. I wanted to take a moment to show you our list of TU national staff in Michigan and Wisconsin. We currently have 12 staff led by Nicole Zamal, who works out of West Michigan. We've really experienced tremendous growth during my time with TU. When I started out in 2014, I was only the second staff person in Michigan and the Great Lakes, and now we've just grown exponentially with a third of our staff being hired just this past year. This doesn't include the dozens of field staff we hire each summer to support our restoration and monitoring work as well. We are made up predominantly of project staff who implement restoration projects in Michigan and Wisconsin, with the addition of Jake Lemon. His focus is on community science and monitoring, and myself, whose focus is on engagement. I've highlighted the staff here who are working fully or partially in Wisconsin in case you are curious. As I mentioned, I began working for TU in 2014 as part of the Rogue River Home Rivers Initiative. That was an effort in West Michigan that brought stakeholders together to work strategically at the watershed level. The Rogue River is a fairly unique watershed in the TU realm. It's just 15 minutes north of Grand Rapids, which is a fairly large metro area, and together made for a really populated watershed, which is something we don't see across the TU spectrum of areas that we're working in. This, of course, brought issues from development and land use change that affected the river poorly, but it also presented some wonderful opportunities to engage all kinds of people in our project work, most of whom were not TU members, but most of whom were not even anglers. They were just individuals who cared about their home river. So during my time on the initiative, I gained a lot of experience engaging the community in hands-on restoration, science, and youth education. That really paved the way for me to step into this new role as Great Lakes Engagement Coordinator, which I took on last October. And I also recently relocated to Chicago, where I grew up. So I'm looking forward to being better situated in the Great Lakes region and closer to our project work in Wisconsin, and particularly close to your chapter as well. So the engagement coordinator is a new position that's come out of our new strategic plan and our effort to grow and strengthen and diversify TU's member and supporter network. Our new plan and vision heavily emphasizes community engagement, as we recognize that maintaining the status quo will not be enough to tackle the ever-growing threats to our cold water resources. And we really need to inspire and recruit a larger, younger, and more diverse array of communities and advocates that are willing to roll up their sleeves and do the work of caring for our rivers and streams. And this work will look different in every community, and each community will have its own challenges. But the good news is that we're investing in this work and growing the number of coordinators across the country. I'm one of the first slate of these coordinators. Currently, there's only 3 across the nation. So here in the Great Lakes, we really have an opportunity to be a model for how this engagement approach can be successful and duplicated in other regions, and encourage that they are duplicated to the other watersheds that we're working in. So the primary goal of this position is to rally chapters and members and partners and volunteers around our project work in our priority waters. Earlier this year, a group of staff and volunteer leaders came together in Wisconsin and selected the priority waters for the state. So that's primarily where you'll find our staff focused. An example of a successful priority waters engagement event is in the Marengo River watershed in northern Wisconsin, where Chris Collier, our TU project manager up there, has led some restoration efforts for flood and climate resiliency. And I've been able to use that project and partner with Chris and the Wild Rivers chapter to plan some engagement opportunities around that work. So this past spring, we hosted a tree planting with the chapter and volunteers and some community members and partners as well who came out. They were able to see the restoration work in person, which can sometimes be challenging to get individuals out to sites. They were able to play a hands-on role in contributing to that work, and that was really exciting and meaningful for them. This is really a bread and butter example of what community engagement can look like. Of course, this is an easy opportunity given that the Wild Rivers chapter and our work overlaps in that watershed. we do want to see this model work even with chapters outside of our priority waters area by partnering with those chapters and hosting project tours or fishing outings or volunteer work days where we can all rally around a big, exciting project that we can all partner on. So we really have to fulfill that goal of pooling our resources together to have the biggest impact on our most resilient cold water resources. So at the same time, we also know that the work that our chapters are doing across the Great Lakes to fix rivers and streams and engage the community is also a really key piece of this puzzle. Oftentimes, our priority waters are not where population centers are, and those communities are equally important, if not more important, and necessary to engage. And I want to be supportive of that work too. I've had the pleasure of doing lots of volunteer events like tree planting projects in Michigan, and they are really great avenues for getting people out and getting their hands dirty. I know this chapter has hosted a ton of work days, so you have a lot of familiarity with this. But there is definitely a growing popularity for tree plantings, and therefore lots and lots of more funding available year after year. In the case that there seems to be a surplus of tree planting funding and not enough places to plant them, or the lack of awareness of those important places to plant trees. So I can help you kind of navigate that, and there will be times when I have access to funding for tree planting projects that I can funnel to the chapter and let you run with and use, in priority areas that you're interested in. So I can, be that involved, or I can just provide ideas and resources and support for anything across the spectrum of these volunteer plantings. So just know that I'm available, and we have a ton of different resources that can support this work. An awesome program that I've had the opportunity of working with in the Great Lakes over the last few years is the Stream Girls program, which engages middle school girls in fly fishing and science, two areas where women are historically underrepresented. This is just a really amazing program, and it really speaks to our forward thinking and our inclusivity at Trout Unlimited. And this program is just a blast. If your chapter has ever been a part of one, it's really fun and a really great way to engage women members of your leadership or your membership or new volunteers. Being in that, I've held a lot of these camps. I have all kinds of equipment that I'm happy to lend out, even stickers and patches and all kinds of cool things to make this program run. So if this is something your chapter is interested in, please do reach out, as I would love to be a help. Another fun program I've gotten to experiment a bit with is freshwater river snorkeling. This is a really neat way to explore our rivers and streams and engage people in a fun and different way. It's a really neat way to see your watershed. I just wanted to throw this out as another example of different mechanisms that you might not be aware of to get people out and engage new audiences. We actually got grant funding to purchase snorkeling equipment, so we do have that, and I'd be more than happy to lend that out or help you pursue funding for that if that's something you're interested in. Another important element of this position is political advocacy. There are a number of federal issues that we're working on in the Great Lakes. For example, advocating for important investments like the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, which has given millions to TU alone to reconnect and restore trout habitat, especially in Wisconsin. There's also issues like invasive species, invasive carp, and the New Zealand mud snail. So we are working at that at the congressional level to address these issues, but also doing on-the-ground research so that we can educate anglers and the public about how to best prevent their spread. I also stay connected with the Wisconsin Council, who has so much expertise on political issues in Wisconsin, to stay up to date on state issues like the trout stamp and the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, so I can help share those stories as well. Like the great article that was in the last Wiz Trout about the success of the trout stamp program. Telling those stories time and again just really instills how critical this funding is in the Great Lakes and Wisconsin. So I'm really happy to kind of share and elevate those issues. We actually have an action alert going on right now to urge Congress to finalize this year's budget, which will allow Great Lakes investments to go into effect, which we rely on for clean water protection and restoration. So you can visit this website or find the link on our social media pages to write to your legislators about this issue. This is something where the chapter can really play a role in furthering our advocacy work by sharing these alerts on Facebook and Instagram or in your email blasts to help us reach more Great Lakes members. We really want to grow and educate and strengthen our advocacy base in the Great Lakes and make sure that they are primed and ready to act were something major to happen. We need them to be ready and comfortable and understanding of the issues. Lastly, I'll just talk about communications, which really goes hand in hand with engagement. We can do all kinds of great work, but if we don't talk about it or can't get people out to our events or meetings, then we're really not taking full advantage of all that opportunity. I am really energized by all the awesome work that this chapter is doing, from your many work days to your fishing outings and membership gatherings. It really sets you apart, and it's really exciting to see. And I think that you're really well positioned geographically, as well as with your strong leadership to keep doing this great engagement work. And I'd love to just be able to be helpful and supportive of those efforts as best I can and provide resources where they may be useful. I think keeping an open line of communication between myself and the chapter would be wonderful, so I can stay up to date on the projects that you're working on and find ways where I might be able to provide funding or resources or assistance. So I would love to be able to play that role, but also to encourage maybe members and volunteers who aren't a part of the board right now, but might find one of these opportunities really exciting and might encourage them to take a more prominent role in the chapter. So I'm here to reach out if you have any ideas you want to bounce off of me or need help with something. Likely we have created or have experience with what you might be looking for, and I really don't believe in having to recreate the wheel across our organization. So if you are excited about taking on a new project or need help bringing something to life, please just let me know. I'm happy to also share events or programs that you have going on if you need more volunteers, more participants. So don't hesitate to reach out, and I'm happy to do that. I really wish I were here in person to take questions and discuss some of this further, but please feel free to send me an email. We can have a meeting or a phone call, or even better, hopefully I can come up for another meeting in person sometime to chat because I'm just a couple hours away. So I'll wrap up with that, but thank you for all the wonderful work you are doing, and I really hope that we can find ways to collaborate in the future.